Hey guys, Otto here from Acquisition Partner, and in this video today what I'm going to do is show you a very simple ClickUp tutorial with some key practical implementations that you can use whether you run a marketing agency or if you're a consultant, freelancer, whatever your business might be. I'm going to show you how we use ClickUp in order to generate $10 million in placed orders through our e-commerce email marketing agency over the last few years. Now, when you land on the ClickUp homepage, you're going to see a number of different paid plans here. And truth be told, I don't actually think we ever even paid for ClickUp. I can't quite remember, but even if we did, it was a nominal fee of $7 to $12 or something like that. So what I'm going to do first of all is jump over into our old workspace. Okay, and this isn't a live workspace, so you're going to see some of the dates here are from last year. But this is going to give you a very good idea of exactly how you can set up your ClickUp account specifically for an agency like we have. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is break down the structure of ClickUp and how it works. Okay, so what you have is you have a workspace, you then have spaces, you have folders, within the folders you have lists, and then you have sublists. Okay, and what I'm going to do is represent that just in this chart here to make it very easy to understand. So like I say, top level you have a workspace, and that's going to be your company name. Within that you then have individual spaces, and I'll show you on ClickUp in a moment there where these all correlate to. So within your workspace you have individual spaces. These are going to be a client space or your revenue or operations, whatever it might be, staff, team management, hiring, that could be an individual space. Within the space, so let's take a client folder, like client space as an example. Within that client space, you're going to have individual folders. Okay, and what we did within each space there was set up a folder for each individual client. So say this folder here is client number 1. And then what we did within that is we would set up individual lists within the client folder that would represent each month that we were working with them. So list 1 would be month 1, list 2, month 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if we take month 1, for example, within that we would then itemize our scope and the action items that we had to do for that client. We would itemize those as tasks within that list. And then if each individual task, like for example, building out a Klaviyo welcome series flow, if each of those individual tasks had tasks within them that needed to be completed, we would include those as subtasks. And I'm going to show you exactly what I've been talking about just here. Okay, so at a top level, we've got our workspace. All right, so here's Gallup. This is our workspace, and that's our business name. Within your workspace on the left-hand side here, you have the opportunity to create a new space. All right, so differentiate workspace to space. Spaces fall within your main overarching business workspace. And what we did here was create a workspace for clients. Okay, and then clicking into our client workspace, we then created a folder, and we would name that folder after the client. So this was an abbreviated encapsulation of this client name, P&S. So here we've got a folder for that client, and then within that folder we would create a list, like I said, for every single month that we worked with them. So we also included pages here for summaries and KPIs and things like that. So I'll just click into those now. And what we would typically do is create a very quick little branded introductory page here that would help introduce all of our staff to the core information about that client and the brand. Okay, so we talk about points of contacts, KPIs, tech stacks, whatever it might be. We would just use this as kind of a wiki and a hub for all the information our employees might need to know about this particular client. I'm going to go onto this calendar here because this is super useful, and it's a really effective implementation if you run an agency or you're a consultant with multiple clients. But what I'm going to do is just jump into a given list here, and like I say, this list here is month 3. And the reason that you can't see any individual tasks within here is because we have done them all. We've closed them all. So what I'm going to do is click over here on show closed, and it's going to show you all of the completed tasks that we did for the client in this month, including the campaigns we worked on that sync to this campaign calendar here. So if I, for example, take this, this here, we've got set up sunset flow, design copy, and around 2 to 3 emails. Within that, we had subtasks here that we would allocate to each individual employee. They're deactivated now, this specific employees, so their assignment here is not included. It's very easy. We could just click here and then search myself, me, or whoever it might be, and add them in, and they will get a notification through ClickUp that they've had a task added to them. Okay, so all of these were ticked off. And what we did with all of our list items, indeed actually all of our tasks and then all of our subtasks, is we created bespoke statuses for each of those that matched our workflow as an agency. Okay, so what we would find was that once we had agreed a contractual scope with the client, what we would then do is take all of those scope items, drop them into ClickUp and assign the status here as a to-do. If the relevant employee and the assigned employee had started working on that individual task, it was then their duty to change it from to do to in progress. Once they had sent that to me or our management team internally, they would then change the status to awaiting approval. Once the asset was then sent to the client, so like I say, this could be whatever, a written guide, it could be a Facebook ad, it could be graphics that you've designed, whatever it might be. For us, it was everything we were doing on an email and SMS marketing point of view for this e-commerce brand. Once we sent that to the client and we were waiting for their approval, we would allocate that task status as amends. Once they had approved it, we would then allocate it as ready, which meant we would then just have to go and make it go live or add final touches, whatever it might be. And then once that was done, the work was delivered, it was live, it was scheduled, whatever it might be, we would click complete here. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus ClickUp standard ones, 6 here statuses that would recommend you setting up for any task that you are doing as part of a service agreement you've got with a client of yours. Now jumping over to this list here. Now what we did with email marketing was that we would not only have to build out a large body of infrastructure for our individual clients in terms of flows and work on things like technical deliverability and stuff that was sort of hands-on with their email service provider account. We would also be responsible for deploying a number of campaigns over the duration of us being engaged with that client. Okay, so what we would do here is typically on the list view in ClickUp, this is how things look. But what you can also do in ClickUp is actually create new views. So if you would prefer to see this itemized list as a Kanban board or in a calendar or a Gantt chart or as a timeline or as a team, whatever it might be a table, a mind map, whatever it might be, there's a lot of use cases that you can use to visually represent the tasks that you are managing using ClickUp as a project management tool. And one thing that we would do here is actually we would pin this calendar view and say to all of our internal staff, use this calendar view. And the reason that we did this, and I'm going to just scooch back here to probably one of the last times we used this particular workspace, just to give you a snapshot here of what a typical month might look like in terms of those campaigns that we were deploying. Okay, and the color of each of these tasks here represents their status. So this is green because it's complete. If we were to change that to in progress, it would actually change color. All right. So as a business owner, as a marketing manager, whatever position you might hold, being able to view things from a calendar view is really helpful from a top level because you can have a look here, and as part of the total number of scope items you've got to deliver for that client, you can actually see the number that's in progress, who's working on them, who's assigned to them, and then everything here from notes. Chats here, we would tag each other and we would send messages, and that would link to each individual employee's ClickUp notification page. We would add subtasks. We would also add individual sort of differences for each of these that we had for our business. So the type of the campaign, we had 5 to 6 different types here. We would then drop all of our briefs into here that our graphic designers and copywriters would then be able to access and deploy for their own carrying out of work. All right, so take a look at this, guys. Have a play around. Again, here you can set deadlines for all of your tasks and your subtasks. When the deadline has not been met, you will get a notification as the owner of the workspace. And you can do a number of different things to set those notification settings to your preferences too. All right, so that will that's your overview of ClickUp. Hopefully I've kind of been able to cut through the noise. I know there's a lot of stuff sort of out there that will kind of try and help you set up ClickUp from scratch, or what whatever it might be. But really, in order to get started with using ClickUp as your project management tool, follow a similar process like this. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you've got any questions, jump into our Discord channel and I'll be more than happy to help answer those for you. Thanks guys, cheers.